Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen, and today I have a little bit of a different video than my normal videos. I did a memorial set in honor of Selena Roth, who was a victim of domestic violence earlier this year. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Selena Roth's life and her story. Please feel free to mute me and just watch the nail video if that is what you would prefer to do. I totally understand. Selena Roth was 25 years old. She was a mother, a military veteran, and my sister. I still have a very hard time speaking of her in past tense. She is my sister. That is one thing that's very hard to get used to, saying somebody was your sister, was your family member, was whatever. It's hard to accept that they're gone. Please bear with me as I get through this, of course. I have a million things running through my mind, things I want to say, things I want to share about her, and I'm just going to make it through this as best I can. So to begin with, Selena is actually 20 years younger than me. She is 2 years older than my son. So they grew up more like cousins than aunt and uncle. Nobody in school believed that they were aunt and uncle, and of course my brothers who were younger, also a little bit older than her, same thing. His uncles, he went to high school and everything with, and nobody believed that they were uncles. They would be like, your cousin, and he's like, no, my uncle. But they were all very close growing up, so it's been hard on everybody just going through all of this. You know, all her nieces and nephews from her older siblings are all her age. So it's been very hard for them to deal with and accept also. So Selena as a young child was super sweet, super giving. We actually lived out of state. My husband was in the military himself when we were younger, and we came home when Selena was about 5 for good. We had been back, of course, periodically in between, but to come home for good, she was about 5. My son was about 3. So she was always the one to run, make sure he had the toy, something to make him happy, something to play with, and that was just her heart. She was very good spirited. As she got older, you know, she turned into that sassy teen, and we all have jokes about how sassy she was. Selena played every sport you could think of. She was the goalie in soccer. She was on the swim team. She did track and field. You name it, she did it. And she was good at it. That was the other thing. She was just good at everything she did. And that includes her academics. She actually graduated college before she graduated high school. A couple months before high school graduation, she went and did her college graduation at the local community college. She started taking courses, of course, during high school as dual enrollment, and was able to finish her associates before she even graduated high school. So that was quite an accomplishment. The whole family was super proud of her for that. And, you know, she never ceased to amaze us. She was also very talented at crocheting and very gifted in music. She was actually the concert mistress for the local youth orchestra, and she played the violin, but she also played a couple of other instruments, but the violin was her main instrument. So a little bit after she graduated, she came home one day and told my parents that she kind of did a thing, and that she had joined the Army. Us being a large military family, my parents weren't surprised and very proud of her and very encouraging. So that began her military journey. After a couple years in the military, Selena did have a knee injury that she ended up getting a medical discharge for, but she was living in Hawaii with her current husband as a dependent, so that is why she was still on a military base. We're not sure when it started, but at some point Selena had found out that her husband at the time was talking to an ex-girlfriend from high school, and of course was not happy about that. I mean, what wife would be? And they had argued about that a lot. And that was ongoing, and it was back and forth. And then he had filed divorce in the end of October. The beginning of November, I guess at some point she was mad and she had thrown his electronics out into the driveway after finding out he was talking to this woman again. And he took a restraining order out on her. And then a couple of days later, which was all around her birthday, her last birthday she was alive for, called the police after he went to her house and, spent a nice day with her doing whatever, and called the police and let them know she was violating a temporary restraining order, and they came and arrested her. And this was in her own home, but he did it through the Hawaiian police, not the military police. So I'm not sure how that works. We still have so many questions in regards to that, but she was arrested for violating a restraining order. Like I said, that is the beginning of November to mid-November. I believe they gave us a date of December 15th. There was a $100,000 life insurance policy he took out on her. And then on January 9th, which was their 1-year anniversary, they planned a day to spend together, which was referred to, I don't even like to say his name, I'm so sorry, as Raoul Day. And they went to the mall. They went out to eat. They went and saw a movie. They went out to a lookout point. And then they went home and went to bed. Now, in the meantime, back here in Florida, for the previous 8 months, our father had been in the hospital, not doing well, on and off. And Selena had kept in contact, if not every day, every other day. And my mother had not heard from her in a couple days. My mom was making arrangements to get our father home and was super crazy busy. He was an hour away. She was going to visit him every day, 2 hours in the car every day. Well, she had noticed that through the weekend, she hadn't heard from Selena. So she tried her on Monday, and she's back to visiting my dad and running back and forth, making the calls to get him home with all the insurance and everything, the home health care. And realized Selena didn't call her back on Tuesday. So Tuesday, when she gets home, she starts calling her again, and calling her, and calling her. And then my mom stayed up late calling her, and her phone finally just went dead. So my mom stayed up the rest of the night worrying, which of course, any mother would. And as soon as it hit 7 o'clock, she called our other sister to let her know that she'd been trying her for a couple days and hadn't heard from her. And, was worried because now her phone had gone to voicemail. So that is a sister who was in the Navy, and she was a cop in the Navy. And she said, "No, Ma, we need to call a welfare check immediately. I'll get right on it and give them a call and get that going." So she did. And that was a very hard day for our whole family. We all got into a group chat, and Mom asked us just very calmly, "Hey, don't get worried, but just wondering if anybody's heard from Selena in the last couple of days, because I've been trying to call her and can't get a hold of her, but just wanted to make sure everything was good, see if anybody else had talked to her." And nobody had in a couple of days at least. So it had been about an hour, and Aubrey still did not hear. That is the sister who was in the Navy who made the welfare call. She called back to see if they had made contact yet, and they told her they had not. And she said, "Well, has anybody gotten to go out there yet?" And she said, "Yes, we actually have several units out there." And she was kind of like, "Well, why do you have several units out there?" And then they put somebody else on the phone and was just like, "We're just double checking things. The dogs were in the house. We're just checking out everything," because the dogs were in their cages in the house, and it looked like they hadn't been let out in a couple of days. And we all knew at that point Selena would never have done that. She was the biggest advocate for animals. She would never have done that. So that, right off the bat, was upsetting to all of us because we knew that would never happen in Selena's world. So Aubrey and my mother had been out there to visit and met some of their friends, and they did know one of Selena's neighbors, so had called and said, hey, can you see what's going on, because we haven't heard from Selena. So she did go and check, and she sent us a picture of the area, and there were several cars, several people outside of Selena's home. So that worried us too. We're like, well, why are there so many people? And we're all talking, and we're like, oh, well, if she's missing, they got them all looking for her, whatever, you know, the things you tell yourself. I guess when you're in that situation, it's just something you never even think about it, and it's just, you're wanting to hope the best, but you're kind of seeing things that don't look good. You try and talk yourself down. Meanwhile, I'm at work, so I'm trying to do my work, trying to read these messages. It was a very rough day. I was more focused on my phone, you know, and making sure that they found her. And then they got a message a little bit later wanting us to put out the pictures of her, saying, you know, have you seen her missing people? And then a little bit after that, it was asking about her tattoos, wanting to know what they looked like, if we can give descriptions, send pictures, whatever. So they did. And then about an hour after that, Aubrey got a call back from the medical examiner in Hawaii letting us know that they had found her. Over the next several days, the information kind of came in of what they were finding, and apparently after they celebrated their 1-year wedding anniversary, he Googled about killing somebody with a bat and proceeded to do so. In court, he said that when he noticed she was still breathing after is when he decided to stab her also. And then where they found her, he had put her in a garbage can, one of those ones that's out by a curb. And that's where she sat for the 3 days before we found her. Things you don't know until you're in these situations. Her death date is actually the day she's found. If you are missing or murdered and they're not sure when, the day that your body is found is the date that you get for your date of death. It is a little hard for me to go into everything. There is a lot of information. I will link news articles, different things down in the bottom in the description box. And we just really want to share Selena's story so that if anybody's in this situation, whether it be themselves, a family member, to see signs. Domestic violence isn't always somebody hitting you every day. He broke her down little by little, different things. I'll take away the divorce if you do this, if you do that. It was a game he played with her for months. He broke her down and made her feel that he was all she had. And for some reason, she was just head over heels in love with him and wanted to make him happy. And he knew that. And he used it to his advantage. But you don't have to be hit every day. There are psychological things. And then he can come in and kill you in the middle of your sleep. We pray to God she was sleeping. He tells us she was sleeping. That's what he said in court anyways. Which he had no remorse. He told us the story like I don't even know, like if he's telling a story of somebody else doing something that he saw on TV or whatever. He has no remorse at all. That was probably the hardest thing. Our whole family had to go to Hawaii and listen to him nonchalantly tell how he killed her. Because he had to get rid of her. And in fact, they had asked him what were the problems in their relationships. And he said that he had started talking to an ex-girlfriend, and they asked what Selena's response to that, and he said she would get mad and frustrated, and it was his own lawyer asking him, and what was your response to Selena's frustration? And he chuckled and said, well, that's why we're here. I'm sorry, but this man is a monster. Even if she wasn't my sister, I would think he's a monster. No family should ever go through this. I don't know, I can't even. I'm upset, but I'm kind of getting to the angry part of grief. And it's been a really hard, today is 10 months. And it's been really, really hard. We created a page on Facebook, and many of her friends and people who knew her shared such beautiful stories of things she had done to help them in their lives, which that was Selena's thing. She was always out to help everybody, every animal. And my mom's neighbor, actually, a lady down the road from her, came and brought my mom flowers and let her know that once upon a time Selena sat with her on suicide watch for 3 days because she was going through a rough patch, and she really always loved her and was appreciative of her for that. Those were the things Selena did in her life. And sadly, she wasn't shown the same love and respect. He did get 62 years in a plea agreement, and hopefully he'll never see the light of day. He is currently serving out his sentence in Leavenworth, and that is all we know for now. If anything changes, we will be notified. But that is Selena's story, and we miss her. It's not going to be the same without her. You know, every event, it's the elephant in the room. She's missing. We're mourning. And we just need to do things in her name on a positive note and continue her legacy. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you're looking for any causes to donate to this holiday season, you know, domestic violence organizations are wonderful. Pets. Anything for pets are wonderful. Those are donations that Selena would have done, so those are organizations I'll be donating to this year. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.